has finally moved, the world leader has finally moved towards to address Biafra, and global stakeholders are saying the division of Nigeria is at stake. What's your take as regards this?
Thank you for having me. I'm going to tell you that I'm not in any way surprised. Because when we started seeing individual countries, that's what it takes to make things happen, speaking in favor of Biafra. I know that sooner or later, we're going to see world leaders gathering for this purpose. At the first instance, we saw Israeli Nasset speaking in the direction of the favor of Biafra. Before then, we saw good news from the United States of America. And as we have it, it is coming from different perspectives. But again, let me tell you that by providence, God never created Nigeria to be one. Because there are some unifying factors that will tell you that in the Igbos, the Yorubas, the Hausa, the Fulanis are supposed to be different people. Because language is a natural unifying factor. So by providence, God created the Igbos as a different people, created the Hausas as a different people, created the Yorubas as a different people, created even the Fulanis as a different people. However, it is not wrong if they unanimously decide to come together, not the current coercion that Nigerians have been coerced by the coercive power of the federal government, not willingly coming together by their own volition. But again, if you even go to the opinion of our founding fathers, you understand that they didn't even believe that Nigeria is one. So you begin to wonder who is keeping this unity that is not working together. Let me bring you the opinion of founding fathers of Nigeria. You understand exactly that they never even believe that Nigeria is one. For instance, this one says Nigeria is not a nation. It is a mere geographical expression. There are no Nigerians in the same sense as there are English ways or French. The word Nigeria is a mere distinctive appellation to distinguish those who live within the boundaries of Nigeria and those who do not. This came from Chief Obafemi Awolowo in 1947. Let me bring you another one because I know for sure that the founding fathers never believed that Nigeria is one. So I begin to wonder, why are we not doing the needful this time around? This one is saying, since 1914, the British government has been trying to make Nigeria into one country. That the Nigerian people themselves are historically different in their backgrounds, in their religious beliefs and customs, and do not show themselves any sense or of willingness to unite. Nigeria unity is only a British invention. Alhaji Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa in 1948. Let me bring you the last one before we go further. This one is saying, it is better for us and many admirers abroad disintegrate in pieces and not in pieces. Should the politician fail to heed the warning, then I will venture the prediction that the experience of the Democratic Republic of Congo will be a child's play if it ever comes to our turn to play such a tragic role. This one came from Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe in 1964. So you can clearly see that our founding fathers saw all of this. And again, you will now see that it is not out of place for people to agitate for the sovereign state of Biafra or any other entity like the Oduduwa Nation, like the Arewa Nation. But if you go to UN Charter that talks about self-determination, talking about section 1, section 2 of UN Charter, it tells you that people have right to self-determination. If you go to African Charter on Human Rights and People's Rights, Article 20 of it tells you that the people have right to self-determination. And these two chapters have been ratified in Nigeria. So to that extent, it's a law in Nigerian legal jurisprudence. And I will tell you something. Look at why they were prosecuting Nnamdi Kanu. You discover that there is no charge that has to do with self-determination. Because the government knows that it is a right. Now that we are seeing global stakeholders, global leaders gathering together to discuss Nigerian corporate existence and sovereignty, I'm going to tell you that it's a welcome development because all along we have been yearning that let us have a platform where you discuss this corporate existence. Hence, Nigerians themselves do not show themselves as being one. Look at what the Fulanis are doing all over the world. Nobody is curtailing their excesses. Even far back, more than 5 years ago, 10 years ago, global terrorism already recognized the Fulani militias of Nigerian extraction as the fourth most deadliest terrorist group in the world. And this will have been wreaking havoc, killing people, maiming people from the north to the west to the south, and nobody's talking. So for me, I think it's a welcome development, more so as we have seen in the recent time, that even UN and out of UN talking about emerging nations of the world already see Biafra as one of such nations from Africa. So for me, it's a welcome development. Don't forget that most recently we saw Israeli Nasset extensively discussing the issue of Biafra. where another issue was equally discussed. Even as we speak, there's a bill in American Congress that was co-sponsored by Congressmen Randy Moore and Chris Smith, talking about Nigerian Freedom, Religious and Accountability Act of 2026 that seek to designate Fulani militias of Nigerian extraction as a terrorist group. And even that same bill seek to sanction groups like Mietiala, which have been wreaking havoc in Nigeria. Let me even tell you that part of the major reason you see this agitation from Biafra angle is the excesses of the Fulanis that the government has not been able to curtail. These same people will tell you we don't want state police, but they turn around to go and want to bring about security arrangement in people's land. In 2024, Mietiala came together to approach the Southeastern governors with a proposal of state police, of forming a security outfit codenamed Fulani Vigilante Group. But these same people will tell you that they don't want state police. And when people want to agitate for sovereignty, they say no, they want one Nigeria. That is why I'm telling you that this gathering of the global stakeholders is not unexpected. It didn't come to me by surprise because it's what we've been expecting. Because there's an extent to which you do each case clandestinely to cover it. The world will take note of it. And I think that's what's happening. The state will act correctly. The people who try to cover the agitation and the quest for the sovereign state of Biafra can no longer sustain that their operation, because the world is already aware that this is what is happening, that Christians, particularly from the Biafra part of the country, have been massacred in their numbers. That is no in doubt. We saw, of course, the man, Benjamin Netanyahu, talking about the Prime Minister of Israel, he said it boldly that Israel wants to fight and liberate Christians in Nigeria. Once we talk of Christians in Nigeria from outside the country, the first thing that comes to mind is Biafra land. Because whether you like it or not, that is where you know that you have predominant Christians, almost 99%. So for me, this is a welcome development because from like I started, there's nothing sacrosanct about Nigeria, to the extent that you cannot discuss the corporate existence. Do not forget that in the 2014 confab, we had a situation where Nigerians had an opportunity to discuss the corporate existence of Nigeria. But the North will always want to use their number to kill it. The same North that got undue advantage through the military to have 19 states, to have numerous local governments in their various states, will stand and tell you that if you want anything, go to National Assembly. And the numbers they have in National Assembly was not given to them through due process. It was given to them by undue advantage they had because they had their brothers and sisters who were in the military who created those states. How can you tell me that a state like Kano is having 44 local governments, whereas a state like Delta is having 25? A state like Biafra, where you have the crude, is having just 8 local governments. And if you have to share the resources according to the local government, it means a place like Kano that do not contribute anything to Nigerian coffer. It's getting money more than Delta, more than Biafra, more than even Lagos, more than every other place. So tell me, what should one advocate that the corporate existence of Nigeria should continue when you see this entrenched injustice? So for me, I am not surprised that global bodies, leaders, stakeholders are waking up and coming to realization that there's need to discuss the corporate existence of Nigeria, because for me, it is a must. It's something that stakeholders must one day rise to deliberate, and I think they have actually risen.
But you talked about, the founding fathers of Nigeria, they were talking about the division of Nigeria. Do you think wherever they are now, they'll be regretting as regards what is happening currently in Nigeria?
I will tell you that whether you call him Zik, Awolowo, Tafawa Balewa, they would have been happy if they witnessed the peaceful dissolution of Nigeria. Because from their own accounts, it's very clear that from their own experience, they were not just speaking for themselves. They were speaking based on what they have realized, their experience dealing with Nigerians, that there is nothing like Nigeria in the real sense of unity. Let me tell you one thing. I'm a statistician by training. If you have to conduct a survey, what is sample opinion of Nigerians, administer questionnaire, without without intimidation, without gagging people. You will find out that,
or tribalism.
yes, you will find out that at the end of the day, we are going to get a result that will show you that Nigerians are willing to part ways. I'm not talking about the political class. I'm not talking about the politicians who are benefiting from the government. The average Nigerians, whether people who initially were pursuing the Oduduwa nation, people who are currently pursuing the Biafra nation, people who genuinely are in the north, who want the good for their people, I will tell you that they are willing. But unfortunately, the politicians who are benefiting from the system will always stand in the way of this sovereignty of the components of Nigeria. But I will tell you that the way it's going, it is already beyond what they can curtail.
Okay, with that being said, the Knesset, we know that for a fact that any moment from now, they will be meeting again as regards the recognition of Biafra, and at the same time, for what is being said as regards the last sitting, do you think that the Israeli government have what it takes to recognize Biafra as a nation?
I'm going to tell you that in this regard, Israel is strategic. I'll tell you why Israel is strategic. One, Israel has enormous influence at the global level.
Okay.
Even as they have their own coercive power at the international level. Do not forget that Israel is undisputed and the closest ally of the United States of America. And America has been identified as undisputed world leader, global leader, global power. And as we speak, America has veto power over the decision of UN. So once Israeli government, through their parliament, Knesset, votes for Biafra, the next we are going to see is the parliament passing it on to the prime minister, who will go and push it to the Oval Office. And once it gets into the Oval Office, the next we are going to see is American government writing a proclamation to be presented to UN. Once that proclamation gets to UN, UN is expected to vote. It's either whether I go in favor of Biafra or against. That's why I told you that US have veto power over UN voting. So if they vote against it, US will go and veto it and enforce it. So what we're able to lobby through Israel, consider the nation actualized.
But do you not think this was Aso Rock? They were in panic. Because of, we saw how they lobbied with over $9 million. Because they know that if Israel, also like what Shegumi said, he said if the president and the government allows Israel to do whatever they want to do, that these people have what it takes to finally restore Biafra. Do you not think why that's why the Tinubu government are so scared that Israel might do the needful?
The point is, whether they are scared, I know, but the point is, they must face the current reality on ground. It is no longer the making of an individual. The global community is already aware. The global community already know what is happening. You do not need to cover it any longer. So it is no longer about an individual's opinion. When America needed to come to Nigeria, did we not see some voices from the north, particularly even Shegumi, telling Tinubu to his face, discontinue with every collaboration with America. But when the government saw the heat from the international community, the man Tinubu himself and his government ignored Shegumi, and currently we are collaborating with the American government. So in the same vein, once the heat started coming from international community, it is no longer about the opinion as an individual in Nigeria. You must abide by a superior opinion. That is when we talk about world power. You can barely see what is happening globally, where the countries that have what it takes to make things happen are talking. And these are the same countries we are talking that is already showing interest in Nigerian affairs, particularly the sovereignty of the USB. When I say USB, you should know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the United States of course, Biafra. That is the pure meaning of USB. So it is no longer a secret. The whole world is aware that the issue of USB is on course, and the countries of the world that can make it to happen are already the one deliberating it. From Zevide, who is the chief of staff to Donald Trump, who once served as a lobbyist of Nnamdi Kanu, to Israeli asset, from the Israeli asset, seen later being submitted to Hall Convention. You can see that it's all ending. Even in the face of travel Nnamdi Kanu is facing, he received honorary citizenship for one of the states in the United States of America. So the things are currently falling in pleasant places for the agitation, and I'm going to tell you that in a shorter possible time, we are going to sing Hallelujah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.